The world of finance is in trouble, and the change is happening rapidly. We know that dollar has been going up, 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 and it's like 20 years high, which actually means a bad story for a lot of emerging markets. But within US, if you are looking at this, it's not surprising. We know they've been pumping money and just printing enough money to keep everyone coming back. And that kind of reaches like $30 trillion in national debt. And then you go down and you're like, okay, the unfunded liabilities are so high. How can even a country sustain with this amount, right? But as you look at this, if you are inside that, yes, the value of dollar is going up against other currencies. But if you're actually looking at this, you are like, okay, fine, this is what's happening with the value of dollar. So now, is this the reason we are going to change into a new financial system? Yes, one of it is that. But if you are looking at what's happening around the world, looking at the monetary system, people trying to set new rules, you will definitely understand this is just not a joke, because you are looking at this 2019, but it's actually showing you what's happening in and around. And then you're kind of looking at what really they are looking at, and you go through, like, you get some idea here, and this is playing out right now. Many actually don't even know this, but do we change currencies? Yes, we do. If you are looking at all of this, it is really clear. Like, history suggests that no fiat currencies stay there forever. So if you are looking at the first one, fine, this is not bad. 80 years, 110 years, another 80 years, 95 years, 105 years. Now, right now, US is there, and it's kind of that end point where the currency is collapsing. Now, why do fiat currencies collapse? All of them collapse for the exact same reason which we just talked here. The value goes to zero, their level of debt goes sky high, they cannot service that debt anymore. And at the same time, you get people wanting to move out of that system because they think the system is being weaponized. And right now, the key change here is happening because majority of the big fund managers around the globe, they kind of think like this new technology is here to stay, and they are investing into this. This is directly from them. Bitcoin is here to stay. It is going to be a part of everyone's portfolio. Now, when they say Bitcoin, it's in general. We know that this market has 20,000 assets, so they are not going to name each and every one of that. But if you are looking at last 7 days, any fund manager in this arena would be looking at this. Okay, last week, we had coins doing 100%, but say for an average, you were doing close to 30%. Now, 30% gain in last week for first 100 coins, that's not a bad deal. And it does show you like we are slowly moving out of a corrective sentiment and moving in to a bullish sentiment. And as we enter there, yeah, we do get these kind of updates. Like, there is a possibility. Now, this one I put out for the Patreon members, showing you like, okay, we are here and we are gonna go higher. And then what happens in the price? We do this, we hit that level, we come back down, and then another try to the upside. We didn't exactly hit the top, but we are still staying here, which actually means if you are here, then you have a buying opportunity close to the moving average, and then your target stays the same. So the market right now is moving with a lot of different assets, and if you know what to look at, you right now have an ability to understand what these guys are talking about. So it's not only going to be just the Bitcoin, it's going to be the macro assets. And we have actually gone through in the last video from Vanek. They're not just looking at Bitcoin or Ether. They're looking at the protocol, they're looking at the utility, and that drives us through this. So right now, when you actually see the world is changing its rules, and as it is entering into the new arena, you need to understand like people do look at what's valuable right now, not like 50 years before, because what it matters is right now. And right now, you see the value of dollar is like this, and it's not only dollar, almost every other currency have the same issue. But when you see nations joining their hands. Now, this is not from 2019, the others were from 2019, but the same sentiment is still there in the market, and that's one of the key reason they're changing. We are gonna have this issue. This guy 2 years back was saying we don't need a dollar, digital dollar. We don't need a CBDC. But right now, this guy is saying central bank digital currency is being examined to help US dollars international standing. Now, most of us who've been looking at this saying China is going to come out with their CBDC and that's going to be a threat to dollar. These guys didn't take that seriously. Or, they at least acted like they didn't. And right now, when this is happening, understand that nations one by one is going to enter into this arena, and assets which are clearly positioned to serve that financial world is going to take a big chunk of that market. Now, this is one of the bad stuff, right? When people actually talk about Bitcoin, they do understand this narrative too. The ESG, the climate change, that still stays. Whatever happens, we are human beings, politically correct, all those stuff, that will stay. So now we are looking at this and you're asking this question, okay, if governments are kind of having this narrative and they are still executing this narrative, that does actually mean you may not be on that for a long time. Now, there's another thing to look at. Right now, you saw like how much debt within US has. And right now, you're looking at how many other countries are holding this as bonds, right? You see like Japan, China, UK, Ireland, and the list goes on. And then you're here watching like, okay, China is dumping that. And right now, that literally is 12-year low. And it's not only China doing that, Japan is also cutting. Now, if you go look at Japan and what's happening, the central bank is just printing money and buying equities. And I'm like, okay, so anyone who put money in equities, they are going to make money. Why? Because the central bank is buying that. So there is no way it's going to go down unless the country goes bankrupt. And it is kind of bankrupt because they have to print money. The moment they stop printing money, they're done, right? That is why we are not actually going on for another currency. Rather, we are going on for a new system. In this system, we may have a global reserve, but it may not be dominated by just one country. And that's where all of this is going. Each country have their own central bank digital currency. They are talking to each other like you and me talking through YouTube. That's the central medium for us. And for them, it will be an interoperable layer with an interoperable asset. And that's where XRP comes into play. And we all know that the price is so low, emotions are so high, psychology of buyers are so low. And that's actually when you should be buying, because the market right now shows a lot of different signals. Now, there's a daily chart, right? If you're breaking in on this daily chart, understanding the fundamentals, that this can be one of the biggest change in history. Just look at this. You're looking at the RSI, you understand that you broke higher, you came back, you retested that, and you're bouncing. Now that is self-explanatory, which means the price is doing the same, or the strength of buyers is understanding in that way. So now you step back, you go on to a 3-day chart, you're stepping back to understand what's the macro narrative. And you're like, the 21-day moving average is acting as a resistance right now. As you break through that, you usually gather momentum. Now, you can go back here looking like, okay, what did the price do here? You were at the bottom, you just came up to the price, and the price came up to the 21-day moving average. You slowed down a bit and then broke that one, retested that, and bounced. Fine. So if you're putting that into perspective, the bounce from the moving average there was close to 100%. Fine. Just before that, here, you did the same. You came, you tested that, you broke out, then you came, retested, and bounced. Fine. So the same narrative is playing all the time. You can go back in history wherever you want and you're finding something similar. So if we are doing that right now, then there is no saying like we are now going towards our target of 0.5, 0.6 range. Now we know that it's been a support before, so most likely it's going to be a resistance. So breaking through that is key. Fine. But that's the horizontal range. If you are taking that horizontal range, putting that into perspective, you are like, okay, this is what we are looking at. But at the same time, you do have trend line resistance coming in. That was the previous resistance and it will still be acting as a resistance. So if you are going to take till the end of August to reach here, that will be a strong resistance. Otherwise, you have room to go up to 0.7 just based on the trend lines. Now that is not bad because for the entire market, if you are looking at Ether, that kind of shows like, okay, what the altcoin market is looking like. I know a lot of people don't like trend lines, or at least they don't believe that trend lines work. But if you remember, we plotted this one showing you from a long time saying we are making a bottom. Now, when we said that back in June, when we were going down, 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 it's hard to believe that. But right now, you're looking at this and saying, okay, historically, we had spent some time here. See, once you spend your time there, you slowed down, you bounced. That's great. Another time, capitulation occurs, you come down, you test that, and you're bouncing. Great. Third time, you're coming back there. Again, you're slowing down, you're bouncing back. So each of these times, as you bounce, you go slow down a bit at the 21-day moving average. So right now, you're deleting all this and just looking like where the 21-day moving average is, and you kind of get that idea, okay, that is kind of aligning with this level of resistance. So the price can actually range close to $2,000 because you also have extended level of previous support turning in as resistance here. So 1,800 towards 2,000 is going to be your resistance. Agreed. But now we go a little bit back to see historically what happens in that case. You drop below, you bounce back, you slow down at the moving average, which also happens to be at this previous support. So if you say we are not rhyming in the history, it's hard for me to agree. But as I look at this, yes, you had a lower support before that, which should have acted as a resistance. But this one, as we just mentioned earlier, this level of support with the moving average is going to be a resistance. Fine. But as you break through that, that's when you are going to gather momentum. The price does not move initially, but your moving average does. Here in the bottom, you can see like the RSI does. The RSI is slowly moving back to the upside, pointing that we are about to break higher. So if you are focusing on RSI, which is kind of a futuristic indicator, in my opinion, gives you that narrative, we are breaking higher, jump on, get on. Fine. So if this is being followed by the altcoin market, which you now know like, okay, we are bouncing and the same story kind of enrolls there. And as you bounce through this, yesterday we detailed about this, right? This scenario is going to come out and play. And the second time, the second time you does this, you go for a massive rally. So the 1 is done, 2 is done, the 3 is coming. So 2 times you have done this, third one is going to be a massive rally. So if you are going to participate in this market, saying, okay, the market is going back, the volume is coming back, I'm interested in this asset, you need to ask that question, which assets you are going to get positioned into. And if you're just holding one asset, it's going to be a little bit hard seeing other assets move when your asset doesn't. But if you're in 5-10 assets, it's fine. 1 or 2 may move right now, and then that slow down, another couple of them starts. That's how the market usually works. But that won't happen if you are in highly correlated assets. So you have highly correlated assets, right? If you are in XRP, XLM, they are highly correlated. Similarly, there are a lot of coins which are highly correlated. So if you are in a bunch of them, then it's going to be a hard choice. So if you understand the fundamentals and technicals, you are looking like coins which are not directly correlated. That is fine. Then if you have 8 to 10 or even 12, that is okay. you can literally wait for another couple of months and see the market growing and your portfolio following the same growth, or even above that if some of the coin decides to burst. So if you are rebalancing your portfolio and if you are looking for these kind of updates for doing the same, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. So guys, if you are receiving value for your time, please do hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done that already. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.